our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Hello, my friends and family, my lovely podcast community. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I'm so grateful for your support over the past 4.5 years and for listening in and help me to be ranked top 10 on conversations around energy. I'm super grateful. Today I want to talk about perfection, the false illusion of control. So oftentimes the women that I'm supporting are high achievers, purpose-driven, amazing. I mean, honestly, quite amazing. And not just in one area of life, but in all areas of life. Like they are invested in their health, they exercise, they are loyal, they're intelligent, they're great at their jobs, they may do things for their community. They're invested in themselves enough to have the energy to give back to the community. And I talk a lot about, like, where does this energy come from? Is this coming from a healthy place of, wanting to be in service and support others? Or is it coming from a place of needing validation or to feel valuable, to feel value, which is really important to make that distinction. And there's a pattern that I want to speak to that I also saw in myself, and I've seen it sometimes in my girls. When we are wired to be this way, we don't make it wrong. And I want to share a little bit about my personal experience around that, just a little bit. But there's a pattern that I see in the women who really struggle with being seen broken or imperfect, and the freedom that's on the other side of it. So in my personal experience, in a nutshell, if you've listened to the podcast, you know the former version of me, military academy, engineer, high performer, all the things. In 2006, health crisis, went into coaching, from health coaching to life coaching to energy healing, retreat facilitation, the whole journey to now supporting feminine leaders and entrepreneurs to thrive in life and business. And throughout that journey, when I shifted from operating in a very masculine energy, I went kind of totally on the other side of operating in a feminine energy. So although I felt super comfortable, 8% females in a military academy, engineering degree, firefighting, welding, the whole thing, like former version of me, I can hardly even relate to. Super competitive in sports, but that energy within me, it was a passion. So understanding that constitutionally and energetically, some of us are just wired for passionate lives. We think way outside the box. We have way more to offer. And it doesn't mean that we have to, and it doesn't make others wrong for not showing up that way. We actually have been given this extra source of energy to create, to lead. And my guess is that if you're here listening, you're one of those people. And then we put this pressure on ourselves because we can perform well, or because we have the energy, and because we're willing, that we have to uphold this standard. But at some point, we may end up realizing, who's that even for anyway? Because actually, the truth is that we're not that important to everybody else. But our ego likes us to think that we are. Because everybody else is just having their own experience also. And actually, they're not really paying attention to whether or not you're doing it right. I mean, some people, maybe. Okay, some people want to see you fall. That happens. That's their problem, not yours. Or some people put you on a pedestal, which is also not a healthy place to be. We're all the same. We're all one. And somehow we create this story that we have to get it right. We have to do it right. Because what happens is, under the surface, that makes us feel safe. It makes us feel valued. And it creates the illusion that we're in control. When actually none of that is true. We're not in control. But there are things that we can control. And it's important to know the difference. We get to control our choice. We do get to choose. Which means we get to choose where we spend our energy and our time. Do you spend your energy in the things that you have choice around and can control? Or do you spend your energy in the things that you cannot control? The things you don't have choice in, like the past. Things that happened in the past that are keeping you where you are. This is the beautiful co-creation of having a coach or a mentor, is they are always focused on taking you from where you are forward. It's very different than the space of therapy where you're working to heal the past, which is amazing, amazing support for the right person who needs that. But what I often find is so many women are actually seeking the permission and the guidance to move forward. They're ready to let go of those stories. They're tired of being trapped in those old identities. And as long as they continue focusing on who they were, at some point they feel that need to move forward. But as long as they're focusing on the old version of themselves, they might just stay there. And one of those patterns is perfection. Now, I'm not a therapist, so this isn't for everyone, this conversation. Sometimes we need that support. We have trauma at levels that we cannot move forward. But this likely isn't you at this moment, or you've already done that work and you're ready to step into the new version of you. One of the things that holds us back is the belief that it has to be perfect. Everything has to align before we can take that step forward. And guess what? It'll never be perfect. It'll never feel like the right time. And it's probably not going to be super easy. Sometimes it is. And that's kind of the interesting thing about the world that we live in today is social media, influencers that are creating the illusion of who we think we want to be. It's dangerous. Very dangerous. This is where we get to step back and witness people for who they are, celebrate them, but get really clear on, what about me? What matters to me? What do I want in my life? If you've never given yourself permission to explore that, we'll drop the link for the Dream Life Meditation. You can also go to my website, jenmons.com/podcast, scroll all the way down and access a full meditation library. This is the beauty of journaling. If you don't have my journal, the 13 Moons of Daily Devotion journal, we have a different theme every month, and every month you don't have to do it in order, but they build on each other to where in December we're manifesting our dream life. We work through our connection to health and joy and love and our limiting beliefs and time and energy and space and abundance and all of the things to create the space to really get clear on like what matters to me. And then it can be fun, then it gets to be exciting. And when we choose to just take action, to just begin letting go of the perfection, if you're listening here and you have my journal and you haven't started yet, or you're not taking that next step to whatever it is, like go out and date, create your business, create your offer as an entrepreneur, because you think it has to be perfect or complete or look a certain way, my advice to you is to just start. The answer is no if you don't try, if you don't ask, if you don't move forward. All of those keep you right where you are. The only way that things shift is when you're willing to go forward and release attachment to what it's going to look like. And this means letting go of perfection. This means letting yourself be supported. And I know to the strong women that I support that feels really, really vulnerable, because we don't want to admit that we actually don't have our shit together. I'm admitting it right now. I do not have my shit together. And I never will. And I'm okay with that. And I am perfectly okay with being imperfect. And I actually love that about myself so much that I teach it to my girls. I let my gray hair show. Like I'm not going to spend my energy being who people think I need to be. I just don't care. And that is so freeing. It's probably the best thing I've ever done for my health and well-being and my relationships. So I want to invite you to sit with, where am I putting too much energy that it's not serving me? What am I trying to keep control over? How am I trying to keep everything looking good or perfect? How am I blocking myself from receiving because this subconscious fear of it needs to be perfect? And how is this creating space in relationships? Because often when we're perfectionists, we are very judgmental of other people because we judge ourselves. And it makes it hard to connect to people. And it also makes it hard for us to be in our best self and to serve from our highest intention. But I know because you're listening, you're willing to work through that. And the first step is just to acknowledge it and join a community of super amazing, badass, passionate women who are willing to let go of that perfection, who are letting go of the people pleasing, letting go of the overwhelm and the hustle, and actually just truly, purely standing in their soul wisdom and being seen in that and supportive of that. It's a really beautiful stage of life to be where we are in our 40s and 50s and to really acknowledge that and just to share from that place with that sovereign knowing that we're just here to do that, and everything else around us doesn't actually mean anything about us because we know who we are. So my question to you is, how is your perfectionism, how's that working out for you? Are you exhausted? Are you just tired of being angry and frustrated and resentful with yourself and others? Are you ready for unconditional love? Because that's the opposite of perfection. Are you ready to let yourself be loved and supported unconditionally in your messiness? Are you ready for freedom? And if you're a yes, and you'd like some support and this speaks to you, you can join our Soul Wisdom Mastery Circle. I have several ways in which I support women on that path, no matter where you are, whether you're stepping into healing your inner work, your patterns of overwhelm and stress and people-pleasing and hustling, stepping into clarity, confidence, and freedom, or whether you're here as a female leader, entrepreneur, ready to up-level in her business, heal a relationship to money and receiving, or you're ready to step into full retreat facilitator. If that speaks to you, it's one of the ways in which I help service-based entrepreneurs and coaches to welcome in more time and financial freedom, doing work they love. So what is your perfectionism keeping you from? And what happens when you let go of it? What do you open up to? How does it feel? What shifts for you? Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.